on
Oh,
different webinars. There's a lot that's going on that's exciting. This is absolutely a reschedule of the PWN Cares Ambassador Program. That's what we were supposed to be doing tonight, but instead we wanted to go ahead and talk about USCHA abstracts and participant support, which is what they are now calling scholarships, primarily because these are all going to be due by the end of the month. So we
Mhm.
have 2.5 weeks to get them done so that we can make sure that our voices are included. So that's why we sort of have shifted stuff around and overlapped, which we try not to do. But in this particular instance, we just went ahead and did it. So welcome, everybody. My name is Barb Cardell. I am the Leadership Development Director with Positive Women's Network USA. I use they, them pronouns, and I am in Boulder, Colorado. I'm really glad to be with you all here today to talk about USCHA. It is a huge conference, but it is so important. And it is so important always, and especially this year, that our voices are at these conferences. In honor of talking about meaningful involvement and intentional involvement, I actually have my Denver Principles t-shirt on because when we talk about ensuring that we are leading every conversation that involves us, this is USCHA is one of the biggest places for us to be able to submit abstracts or to make sure that we can attend so that our voices are lifted up. We've got the chat going. People have introduced themselves in the chat. Thank you so much. We will share the recording and the slides and the link with everyone once we are done. But go ahead and put any questions you might have in the chat and we will get to them. So as always in PWN spaces, we go ahead and we remove any AI transcribing or bots. We want to make sure that people are able to participate in a full and meaningful way, and that we don't have our words being transcribed in places that we don't have any control over. As I said, slides and recording will be available once we're done, and closed captioning for people who are having challenges, perhaps hearing or would like to be able to read along. There's the CC button down at the bottom of your screen. You click on that, and that'll actually go ahead and transcribe. If you need any help with accessibility, please go ahead and just put a comment in the chat. We've got Kelly and we've got Antoinette who are able to help us as we are moving along through today. So this is really an opportunity for us to talk about USCHA. We can share what people who have been have felt, people who have had abstracts. We've got a couple of people on here who have had abstracts accepted, and maybe they can share what was good and what was challenging through the process. Okay, so the basics about USCHA is that it's going to be in Anaheim, California on the 17th to the 20th of September. The theme is United and Unbreakable, the HIV movement at 45 years. So this is the 45th anniversary since the MMRW was released, which announced that there was this new challenge for young gay men in San Francisco. It was the first time that HIV was actually mentioned. So 45 years, it's a big milestone, and we want to make sure that we are commemorating it. This is the 30th anniversary of USCHA. It originally started as a skills building workshop and morphed into this very large conference where we have a chance to come together with policymakers, with AIDS service organization executive directors, with case managers, and especially with people who are living with HIV. Now, I'm going to say this many times, okay? The USCHA abstracts are due on May 31st. It says on their website that it's due at 10 o'clock Eastern time, but when you go into the actual portal where you go ahead and submit, it says 5 o'clock Eastern time.
Mhm.
So I would start thinking that they're due at 5 o'clock Eastern time on the 31st. It would be great if you actually got it submitted early because the portal guaranteed gets stuck, gets glitchy on that last day as people are trying to submit. And so we want to make sure that every great thought that you have that you want to share is recorded and is considered for an abstract. Scholarships, or what they're calling them this year, is participant support. Those are due on June 1st. Again, the same thing on the website. It says 10 o'clock Eastern time. When you go to the portal, it says 5 p.m. Eastern time. I have already sent them a message saying, what on earth? That's a 5-hour difference. I don't know about you all, but I have been a little bit been a little bit late sometimes in getting things in. And so for me and for us, it is important for us to know if it's 5 or 10 o'clock. But right now, I would plan on it being 5 o'clock Eastern time, just because we don't want to be the one trying to submit something and to find out that it's closed. The website is www.nmac.org/USCHA. It's pretty easy. If you just type in USCHA, it'll pop up. Again, we'll send you all of these links. So when we're talking about participant support, so we're going to actually this time, because they're both due so soon, we're talking about scholarships, we're talking about abstracts. Unfortunately, my brain keeps defaulting to calling them scholarships. They're very intentionally calling them participant support. For them, that makes a difference. I think maybe they're trying to shift the way people are thinking about how the support is offered. So please know when I'm talking about scholarships, I'm talking about participant support. It really is, for our perspective, very similar. So when you're doing a participant support, which is the new scholarship, there are things you need to remember. Okay. First off, there's a priority that's given to people who have not received support packages in the recent past. And this is specifically just people who have received support from the USCHA scholarship program. So if you were there and PWN helped get you there, if you were there and the HIV caucus helped get you there, if you were there and you were part of the HIV and aging program, if you were there and Ribbon got you there, none of those count. The only thing that counts when they're talking about people who have received scholarships are people who actually have received scholarships or support from NMAC. And the way you know that is that it got very confusing with the number of hotel nights and do you need to have somebody's room with you or do you have to pay for it? If you remember that chaos, you received an NMAC scholarship. If you don't know, it is better to say that, yeah, there are some emails that you can write and check and see if you've received one, but it's good to kind of go back through your email and determine if you received support from another organization to get there or if you received a support from NMAC. You want to make sure that when you are submitting your participant support, that you are writing a compelling narrative, that you are everything that they have, most everything that they have has a word limit on it. So you want to pick your words carefully. It's best to just write it all down and then go back and edit it. And we're here to help you with that because we want to see every single one of you at USCHA. And we want to be attending workshops that every single one of you has been presenting on. You need to live in the United States. That's a requirement. And this part is critical. Only one support package will be given per organization. So many of us on here are with PWN. I would suggest if there is another organization that you work with, that you volunteer with, that you smile at on your way home from work, whatever, to put them down rather than PWN, because even PWN will only get one person who is awarded a support package. So for example, in Colorado, we've got Mary who can put down the Empowerment Project. We've got people who work with the Planning Council. We've got people who work with the Health Department. We've got people who work with AIDS service organizations or clinics. It is good to ask if you can put them down because otherwise we're all going to be competing for that one slot and that is not very effective. For the USCHA scholarships or participant support, it's just the USCHA website, and you look under the participant support button. So I want to hear from you all. Who has applied for a scholarship or who has written one and didn't even submit it? What do y'all, what's your experience? What do you want to share with this group here that is both a positive and a negative? Or a positive or a negative? Valerie, go.
Hi, y'all. Well, I did put in for a scholarship, but I'm also going to try to do an abstract. Because if one don't give, I hope the other one will. You know,
Hmm.
and I just want to let everybody know that has never been to one. It's amazing. It really is. You learn, you can learn so much if you go to the workshops and just sit there and take in what you're experiencing. It's really
Mhm.
it's a real good way to network with a lot of different people, a lot of different places. I've met some amazing people going to USCHA. Seems like I always get sick, but that's no here nor there. So, but yeah, it is it's a real good experience for anybody.
Thanks, Valerie. So, as people sort of share things, I'm just going to make sure we're all on the same page about some of the changes. So, in the past, if you submitted an abstract, the lead on an abstract was given a registration. They weren't given any other support, so no flight, no hotel. So, if you need a flight and a hotel, or if you need a hotel to attend, you need to make sure that you're applying for a scholarship and an abstract. Those don't conflict at all, or that you have a fundraising plan. One of the things that I did not see on their website was that they were going to be offering registration to people who have an abstract submitted. But I can't imagine, this is also in my email that I sent them asking clarifying questions. And of course, they didn't get back to me in time for this. But when we have the answers, we're going to send it out to everybody who is registered to make sure. But you want to make sure that you're talking about them as separate things because there's the participant support and how you get there and how you stay there. And then there's the work that you want to share. And that is a different thing. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Mary.
Okay, so last year I submitted both an abstract and for a scholarship. I ended up getting both. So, um, since the abstract was able to supply more, I gave up my scholarship to someone else so that they could attend. So it is possible. So like Barb was saying, I recommend doing them both just in case you don't get one because you never know when those um, awards are given. So it may take a little longer. So be sure to get both of those in right away. And if you need help, reach out to those that like Barb or Dree over at 50 Plus so that they can review that for you. You really want to be specific and highlight how you're going to utilize this information. That's what they're looking for. How are you going to utilize it once you get back?
Great, great points, Mary. Thank you so much for sharing those with people. All right, Stacy.
Hi. I can't remember the last time I went to USCHA. It seems like every time I've gone, someone supported me being there. I can remember in Orlando, Bruce Richmond actually rented out an Airbnb for U equals U ambassadors, so and paid for everything. So that's how I was able to get there. I think I applied for a scholarship one time, and that was probably over 10 years ago and I got it, but have never been able to get it ever since. And all the other times I've gone, it was because someone supported me going, or I've either done some volunteering.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Stacy. And the time you were supported by Bruce, that wouldn't count as a scholarship. So that
Right.
is, I mean, you're due. You're due to get a scholarship. Let's just say.
Yes.
All right. Vaughn, welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten scholarship. Last year I did both a scholarship and which not from NMAC, but from the 50 plus group. And I did an abstract as well, which I was going to be there anyway. So that was a great thing, and that was really my first abstract for a USHA conference. So I will say this: I know that within my organization, also work in a hospital organization, and we had several people apply from my organization. But I never usually represent my organization when I apply because I work for a hospital. I typically part of the planning council that I always use. And I was just going to tell everyone, just because they say no doesn't mean there's opportunities for other people to sponsor you to go. So don't let the no say, okay, I'm not going this year, but use your contacts, talk to your planning councils, if you have, planning councils in your area, talk to the pharma companies. You've got Beeve, you've got Gilead, you've got Merck, to see if there's anything you can do. If I know for me, one year I went, actually Beeve paid for me to go because I was on one of their expert panels. And by doing that, I was going to be there. So that worked out really well. I think there's lots of opportunities, and if people have questions, I'm always available. I'm more than willing to help. I know when I saw this today, I submitted a lot of abstracts across the board, across a lot of things, but I wanted to be able to be here to help and give any suggestions of what's worked for me. So.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Vaughn. So feel free to raise your hand and pop in as we go along and share your expertise. Jessica, hi, welcome.
Hello. Listen, why are you here? I'm here because I'm interested in going to USCHA. Have you ever applied before for a scholarship? Yes, I have. Did I submit it? I did. Was it accepted? No. How did I take it? I guess I was okay with it. I've never gone before, so I really don't know uh what what to expect or what I would have been missing. So, but I'm interested in going. But also abstract. And I know I might sound so out of pocket, so dumb. But what exactly is an abstract? I still don't know what that is.
We will get there in just a moment, but in short, so we'll talk more about it in a bit, but just so you're not like holding on to that question, an abstract is a proposal for a workshop.
Okay.
And so it is something that you think other people at USCHA should hear about, know about, learn about, all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, Susan, thank you. Yeah, no dumb questions at all. We are all here to be learning from each other and sharing. So yeah,
Thank you.
it is just a proposal.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for all that, the wonderful sharing and experience and really helping people understand that this is something that we try and sometimes we're accepted and sometimes we're not. And, unfortunately, last time I heard, I believe that someone who was on the scholarship committee told me that they received 4 applications for every one slot they had.
you.
So it's competitive, and if they don't choose you, it does not mean that your application wasn't great or you're not great. It means that sometimes they're going for a particular group or people that they want to invite. And so our job is to make every participant support application reflect you and the amazing work you do so that they can hardly stand not to have you there. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about scholarships and about participant support. So here's what we have is that again, and I'm going to say this multiple times. So participant support, they're due June 1st, maybe by 10 o'clock Eastern time, could be by 5 o'clock Eastern time. We'll let you know when we find the time, but for now, get it in your brain thing that you need to have it submitted by 5 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Central time, 3 o'clock Mountain time, 2 o'clock Pacific time on June 1st. They're going to notify people if you receive participant support by June 30th. By or after, sorry, excuse me, on or after June 30th. And so you'll notice that there is a little bit of an overlap between people who submit abstracts and when you need to accept your participant support and all of that kind of thing. You want to make sure as well that you are checking your emails starting kind of the end of June so that if they send something to you, even if it goes to spam, that you catch it and have it in your inbox. So there's only two kinds of scholarships this year. There is option A, which is a USCHA registration, and they are, I believe the early registration is $795. So it is a pricey ticket. If you only need the registration, which means that you need to be able to get in and have your seat at the plenaries and all of that kind of stuff taken care of, but that's all you need, then that's the one that you want to apply for. You can only apply for one type of scholarships or participant support. So you have to choose A or B. They do have more of option A because the registrations are a little bit easier. Option B. So option B is USCHA registration. 4 nights of a hotel so that you don't have to try and partner up with somebody who also has received participant support. So you get the entire conference. You have a hotel room and a $100 gift card. So let's talk about what's not included here. What's not included is travel to and from the airport, per diem or your meals, and a flight, as well as some spending money if you like to get souvenirs or any of that kind of stuff. So even if you receive the participant support, you still are going to need to do some fundraising or to figure out how you're going to get all the other parts taken care of. Any questions so far?
Barb, so the travel is not covered in the scholarship?
Travel is not covered. Yep.
Doesn't it say travel to and from the airport? It doesn't, right? Am I reading that right? Oh, it's also flight. Never mind. I see.
Yeah. Nope. They're paying for registration, hotel, and a gift card. That's it.
So the extra 2 nights that we didn't, it used to only be 2 nights that they covered. So
Now they're
the
paying for
4
all
nights.
4 nights. Yep.
So they're taking the flights away since they're giving you the 4 nights.
Yeah. Yeah. Susan, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just going to say too, I know you already said this, for people that, looking at the information, it's not $700 some dollars if you're a member of NMAC. So that helps to just go ahead and join. Like I kept forgetting all these years. So I joined only a couple of weeks ago, and it takes off like if you don't get a scholarship and pay for that registration, then it's not quite as much.
Great. Thank you, Susan.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So how do you apply for your participant support? It's through a portal on their website. So you want to make sure that you write out all of your information ahead of time, either in a Word document or in a Google document so that you can copy and paste into the portal. You can't sort of work on it for a little bit and then go back and edit it again. When you're entering it, you're entering it. So if all of these things around technology feel intimidating, it is okay. We can connect with you. PWN Leadership Development Team and some of our other staff are here to help walk you through it, share your screen, make sure that you're able to do this. So as we said, it's a good idea to write your application. That way you can spell check. You can make sure you got every exact word completely right. And then you copy and you paste it into the document. So that is the outline for it. Here are the questions that they're going to ask you. Okay. And this way you don't have to sort of start the application. You can find all of the questions here and the word limits. You will see that there are some word limits. And so when you are applying for your participant support through the portal, they'll ask you some demographic information. Then you get into these questions, and there are quite a few of them. So first up is, how have you demonstrated your dedication to HIV advocacy and awareness? Share the specific way you have contributed to initiatives that address HIV-related challenges in your community or professional field. You have to answer that in 100 words.
Ooh.
Yeah, Stacy, you have a question?
Yes. What happens if, and someone told me this, used to be on the application committee, and they're no longer on it, but told me that they thought that I had used Chat GPT because my application was so good. I said, well, that's not fair because I cannot help that. That's how good I write. And I said, that's really sad that they thought I used that it sounded like I used Chat GPT. And I'm like, oh, I would never do that. So
Yeah.
So
yeah, that seems like there's some inherent bias there for sure. So I am not sure what you can do about that other than maybe put in your introduction, I did not use Chat GPT to write this. I am a writer or something like that, because there is a lot of assumptions that people are using Chat GPT. And so we can talk more about that when we get to questions at the very, very end about whether or not it makes sense to use Chat GPT. So next question is, how do you intend to apply the knowledge gained from the conference to create meaningful impact in your community or your workplace? Describe the specific actions you've taken to enhance HIV awareness, prevention, or support. There's no word limit here, but you don't want to kind of be all over the place. So when we're talking about these questions, and we actually have a Google document that you can copy, and you can write your answers to all of these questions in. And you'll notice at the top of it, it says, what are your advocacy efforts? What are the things that you've done that you're really proud about that you want to make sure that you mention? Because if you can think of an example to talk about in a different example in each of these questions, you are introducing yourself better. You are sort of going beyond just the here's who I am in one sort of statement, but you're saying here's who I am, and here's this thing I did, and here's this other thing I've done, and here's this other thing I've done. Some of you actually are on this call, and you and I worked on your scholarship applications together last time. And what we realized was that a lot of people forget the amazing things that they've done. And so starting now, yep, I see head nods. I see the heads nodding. It is good while you're getting ready to start submitting as a scholarship or a participant support application to go ahead and start listing the amazing things that you've done, so that when you come to writing this, you have a list. Mary, I can see you were full body nodding there with me on that one.
Also, it's a great idea to ask your friends, colleagues, coworkers, other PWN members what you've done. Thanks to Barb, I forgot all the stuff I did, honestly. And they were listing like everything that I was doing. I was like, I don't remember that. So, yeah, reach out to all your networks and friends and have them help you with a lot of this stuff so that they'll help refresh your memory.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point, Mary. Thank you. Dawn.
Yeah, I'm just tacking onto that because I feel that's so important. I had that recommendation made to me very early on in when I was starting my advocacy efforts, because it's easy to forget about what you did 10 years ago, right? So I almost keep a list, almost like a CV, a separate resume. So if I have an article published, I put the information in just to keep it for myself. So when it comes to um, writing for something like this, you have all the stuff that you've done, and you don't have to keep thinking, oh, what did I do here? What did I do there? But if you have it kind of like in a forum, any planning councils you're on, any planning bodies, any group, keep a list of all those, because we all come and go from different organizations and things. And if, it's really easy to forget some things that could be so impactful, because we tend as humans not to want to talk about ourselves that way. And so therefore we forget things.
That is absolutely true, Bon. Thank you so much. And if you start kind of feeling like maybe you're missing things, call up a good friend and say, when you're bragging on me, what do you say? Because for sure, they mention things that we don't even remember, like Mary said, or that we think that we just sort of minimize even. So this is full scale permission to list the amazing things you've done and to brag on them. Because what I know, and I see everybody on this list, we have all done really remarkable things, really different remarkable things that have elevated the voice of our community in ways that are so critical, especially now. So full scale permission, brag away. So let's go back to the questions, because I do want to read through them. And I do want to say that on the Google document that I copied these into so you can work on it actually in the document, I went ahead and I highlighted the keyword that I think you need to do when you're addressing these. So for example, in this last one, the second one, I always want to make sure that I'm talking about specific actions. So I did this. Here's how it was. Here's what my goal was. Here's what I accomplished. Here's what I learned from it. And so we want to read these questions carefully to make sure we're kind of pulling out that key phrase. So the next one is sharing a challenge you've encountered in your HIV advocacy or awareness efforts. How did you navigate this obstacle, and what lessons did you gain from the experience? So challenge, lessons. That's what you need there. And you'll see that has no word limit. So you could actually do like here's one that is in my HIV advocacy space, and here's one that's in my personal life. You can kind of go to town on it. I usually, when there's no word limit, I find that as an encouragement to try and brag on myself as much as I can, like to the point that it's uncomfortable. Again, back to the full scale permission to brag on ourselves. And I always have lots of lessons because I'm like, ooh, okay, this is what we need to do differently. So next question, in what ways do you envision contributing to the progress of HIV awareness, prevention, or support in the future? Share your goals and the impact you hope to make in the coming years. This is your vision. So dream big. Think about, like I want to start my own organization that specifically lifts up the voices of Black women in Mississippi who live in rural areas. Like Valerie, that could be what your vision is. And it can be whatever we really want. It doesn't have to be something that we're halfway to accomplishing. Like this is dreaming big. Next question, how will attending this conference, this is what we've already talked about a little bit. So how will attending this conference enhance your professional development and deepen your understanding of HIV related issues? Describe the specific skills, knowledge, and insights you hope to gain. Okay. So when we're talking about professional, people are like, well, I don't work in HIV. You know what? You volunteer enough, it is like a second job for many of us. So I would consider that professional development. If you're interested in coming and working in these spaces, definitely. Keywords in this question are skills, knowledge, and insights you hope to gain. And you might be like, I've never been to USCHA before. It's a conference. It's an HIV conference. Think about what you've learned in the past and how you might advance that. And again, if you get stuck or frozen, reach out because we're here to help you. Then the final one is, how has your personal and professional journey shaped your commitment to HIV advocacy? And how do you plan to use this scholarship to further your impact in HIV awareness, prevention, or support? So this is an opportunity to talk about what your journey has been. So it can be, I come to this work as someone who has battled mental health challenges. Every day that I get out of bed and take my meds and advocate for something that is so important, that is a victory to me. And what I know is being at this conference, I'll be able to bring that intersectionality to every workshop I sit in, every conversation I have, every person I meet. Those are the ways we can talk about our deeply personal journey in ways that feel empowering. So these are the questions that are going to be on the profile. And again, we've got a Google Doc that you all can look at so that you don't have to go in and start the application to be able to see them. Any questions here? All right. We're going to keep plugging along because we have a lot we're going to talk about. So submission tips. These are super easy and they are, pretty, I think they're most people actually pretty much follow them. Start early. Okay, that one I don't follow. I am a procrastinator, and I usually, if I procrastinate, I don't get the scholarship because I'm not writing my best. I'm not remembering all the things. So start early so that you give yourself all the advantages. When you're registering or when you're submitting your name, you need to make sure that your name matches your ID and your credit cards. That is important because that's, especially if you get a hotel reservation, that's what they're going to book your hotel under. You need to make sure you choose option A or B. Think about your story. Think about how many different ways you want to tell your story or what different parts of your story you want to go ahead and tell. If you have experiences with a lot of different kinds of intersectionality, make sure you mention those. This is your chance to sort of talk about yourself in a way that maybe your best friend would rather than the way you would, because sometimes we don't give ourselves every advantage. You can only submit your scholarship once. You have to submit all of it. And good idea to write it in Word or in Google Docs before you enter the system. So again, you can make sure that you don't have run-on sentences. One time, okay, this is embarrassing, but I'm going to share. My very first application to USCHA was probably 20 years ago, maybe even longer. It was a while. And I had probably a 5-sentence run-on sentence. I mean, I just had all the thoughts and I was typing and I was going to go here and I was going to go there and I had all of the words. It was a full-on paragraph without a comma, without a period. It didn't even have an exclamation point or a question mark. I just was full on in the feels and wanted to share that with everyone. That's not a great way to actually submit an application, primarily because people lose all of the really great things that you're talking about. And so you want to give them kind of bite-sized pieces instead of this stream of consciousness. Okay, fully write out acronyms. So if you're on the ADAP group, you want to say AIDS Drug Assistance Program Committee so that they know exactly what you're talking about, because sometimes acronyms mean one thing in one space and another thing in another. You want to clearly hit your points. We've said all of it. Proofread, and then, as Mary said, have somebody read your application and ask them if your application is clear, concise. And I would actually add here, ask them if your application is really selling you the way that they think that it should. Because sometimes people will be like, oh, Barb, you actually did not talk about, you said, oh, and we passed laws around HIV criminalization, as opposed to saying, here's what I did that helped write those laws and pass those laws. Okay, around scholarships and going to USCHA, we have to mention this. Now is an incredibly unsafe time for our trans and our gender diverse community to be traveling. PWN has travel tips. Wherever possible, we try and partner people up who are traveling together. We do not want anyone who is trans or gender diverse or even a worried traveler. We don't want people to not attend USCHA because they're afraid that they are going to be targeted. We will try. We want everybody to be there who wants to be there and needs to be there. And so we intentionally say we have a whole document that helps people travel easier. And we have a webinar about how to get to USCHA and what you need to think about. I mean, like literally, we are here to help you in any way that we need to. Can you attend if you are undocumented? No, Vaughn, it actually said that to apply, I mean, so you can attend if you're undocumented, Crystal. You must live in the United States. It actually doesn't say, if you look at it, it says you must live in the United States. It doesn't actually say whether or not you have to be documented or not to apply for a support package and a participant support package. And so I think they intentionally worded it that way so that folks who are undocumented, who are interested in attending, could apply. But, again, so we talk about trans folks here specifically, but also we're talking about folks who are undocumented. We're talking about folks who, are at many intersectionalities and feel unsafe, but we want to put it down here. You do have to be a U.S. citizen. Oh, sorry. We'll verify that. That's a great question. Yeah, exactly. Kelly said you should make an individualized risk assessment. And if you want to talk it over, we are happy to do that. All right. So support for the participant support. Again, we're here to help you. We want to make sure that you are able to submit the participant support application that best describes you. So let us know how we can help. Either we can hop on calls or we can review what you've written, all of it. Some of y'all are self-starters and just say, nope, I got it from here. And that's great too. So it is important for us when we're talking about USCHA to go ahead and say it is possible that if you submit an abstract and a participant support or scholarship application, that you might receive one and not the other. And so if you are going ahead and submitting an abstract, you need to think about if you are able to get yourself there, especially because the flights aren't paid for even with the scholarships. So points to ponder, just things to think about. There have been a number of people whose abstracts have been accepted and they went out and they fundraised and they were able to get themselves there. But we just want to make sure that people are thinking about that just because your abstract is accepted does not mean that you will get a scholarship, and vice versa, really. That last question about would you volunteer? That's a tricky one because the volunteers at USCHA work long, long, long hours. And so if you are presenting a abstract, you might not have time to prepare or be able to present. And so there's a lot that needs to go into it. If you have any questions, reach out and we can talk more about it one-on-one. All right, so here we go. What is an abstract? So it is essentially just a proposal for a workshop. You want to make sure that it clearly identifies what you're talking about as simply as possible. And that can be a little tricky to do because we also have word limits here. So who here on the call has submitted an abstract or submitted an abstract and had it accepted? Who wants to go ahead and talk about it? Mary, I'm going to go to you first.
I submitted an abstract. It was accepted, which I was very, very shocked. It was surreal. Being there on the other side in front of this like room of people and them kind of looking to you to give them information. It was an experience I will never forget. The whole process in general, from deciding to do it all the way through doing it. Um, it was a very good learning experience. It challenged myself on my boundaries and pushing myself to do things that were so outside my comfort zone. Um, all in all, I highly recommend it to anyone, even just the process of submitting an abstract. That alone is an experience in and of itself. So if you have an idea, go with it. Try it. You never know. I didn't think mine would be accepted at all. And it was. So you never know if it's gonna be something they choose. It may be such an out there topic that it needs to be. So think big, think wide, and push yourself a little bit.
And Mary, what was your topic that you talked about last year?
Um, grief is
Beyond
more
grief.
than, yeah, grief is more than death and dying, navigating non-death losses.
And it was amazing. And Mary actually is our picture that we have on the registration. So you all actually got to see Mary when you registered for this. And she was there up on stage by herself, brave
By
as could
myself.
be. And I was so honored to know you. And it was a packed room because there were 100 folks. I counted them.
There also, towards the end, we had a technical difficulty. I could have sworn I was panicking in my head, but everyone else was like, you rolled with it. You tried to get, the slides up or the whatever it was up as best as you could, and you handled it wonderfully. So, yeah, it's not going to always go the way that you plan.
Hmm.
Just roll with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, Mary. Vaughn, to you.
Yeah, so USHA was my first abstract I got presented at a national conference. So I was a nervous wreck, but it was a panel discussion, and I knew the people on the panel very well, which was really good. Like Mary, I was shocked that it got accepted because it was kind of one of those out there topics and didn't know how well it would be received. And but in all, it was really good. In fact, I had reformatted it to present at other conferences. So because of how it was very well received, and that was really good. I think for me, the thing that's helped me along the way is I've been to enough conferences. I've seen what I liked in an abstract and what I didn't like in an abstract presentation. So it, kind of helped seeing how people present data and how they present information in PowerPoint and things like that has definitely helped for that. It helped me moving forward. I presented 3 abstracts at Sync 2026. This last year, I presented at Biomedical an abstract. I've got one in NASM this month. So I'm kind of, I'm in the abstract writing mode for some reason. So,
Hmm.
but
That's great.
my topic was interracial dating online, specifically men, MSM, and disclosure of HIV and STI status, and it's dealing with intergenerational dating. So it was a very interesting topic to talk about.
But it sparked some really great conversation in the room as well.
Yes, very much so.
Mm, beautiful. All right. Thank you, Vaughn. Anyone else?
I had the pleasure of submitting the abstract with my team.
Mhm.
We was able to present on our housing project 2024. It's either 23 or 24. We was able to present on EHE innovative projects. and ours was one of the innovative projects. I also had an opportunity to sit on a panel um, with MMAC as far as a cohort that I had took. But it was very stressful getting the information to put the abstract together. It was stressful waiting to see if we were selected because that process was like, how long is it going to take? And that year it kind of took a little longer. Like they had extended the deadline, and it was like, we supposed to be finding out. So it was a little anxiety going on within the team, but it was a very happy when we got selected to present. So.
Congratulations, LaDon, and thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
You bet. And Miss Sarah. Sarah, did you want to share about the abstract from PW in Louisiana?
I thought I didn't know I was muted. Bob, you should have told me.
No, I was getting there.
We submitted, PWN Louisiana submitted an abstract. I think it was 2024 for USCHA, and it was accepted. It was on HIV criminalization. And it was accepted, and it made us feel good because we got a chance to present and let people know what the criminalization laws in Louisiana were like for HIV positive people. And I think we did a good job. But it was stressful. It was very stressful getting it together because all of us had to work on it to get it together. But it was good.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I would encourage us to move from it was stressful instead and remessage it as it was energizing. It was all the energy. Because,
I like that.
Energizing.
I like
because
that.
yeah, because we don't want the people who've not submitted before to think like, oh my gosh, this is terrible and I'm not going to do it.
No,
It
it's
it
not
it
terrible.
is. It is. It
I
is.
like
It
the
is.
energizing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's we energize ourselves
energizing.
because we are sharing really programs that no one else does. People
Yeah,
living with HIV and our community does programs that, yeah,
That
everybody
requires
needs
a
to hear
lot of
about.
energy.
And unfortunately, they do not. So, all righty, we're going to go ahead. We're going to keep going. So, again, for abstracts like the participant support applications, you're going to use a portal. The portal can be a little glitchy. And so, it is a really good idea to write it all out ahead of time so that you can work on what you want to say and then copy and paste it in. That's going to make it much easier for you. We're here to help however you need us. There are 7 tracks, and this is what is really exciting. Every year they have different sort of tracks or kind of almost like majors in college. They're how you group presentations that are related together. You can submit your abstract only under one track. You cannot say, oh, well, if it's here, here, and here. You have to decide which one you want to submit it under. So track 1 is whole person health, prevention and care without silos. Track 2, unbreakable bridges, closing the gap in healthcare. Track 3, the power of us. Stacy, I'm looking at you. Power of us, storytelling and community engagement. Track 4, unbreakable foundation, strengthening organizational capacity. Track 5, turning evidence into impact through science and policy. Track 6, cross-cutting track. So this is the intersectional one. And this is the future of the movement, innovation, urgency, and what's next. And then track 7 is advancing HIV care, clinical updates and pathways. So we will see that there are a couple of tracks we can apply in. They have some descriptions in the website, and so you can go ahead and determine which one. And if you ever have a question, we are here to help. And thank you, Crystal. I really appreciate the props in the chat about being the person to work with around abstracts. I love working with people because I love the work that we do and how we show up. And so I always am biased because I think that they should have USCHA just be presentations by people living with HIV. They haven't taken that suggestion yet, but that's what I think. So details about the abstracts. They are due on May 31st. So this is a day earlier than the participant support. On the website, it says they're due at 10 o'clock. In the application process, it says they're due at 5. So again, in your mind, start thinking May 31st, 5 o'clock Eastern time. Workshops are 90 minutes. There are 2 kinds of abstracts or workshop proposals you can submit. One is around a specific program, project, or study. So that would be, I launched a project this year, for example, PWN Cares Ambassador Program, and I want to talk about what my objectives were, what my goals were, what my outcomes were, what we learned from that program. I'm going to talk just about that program. Okay. Then there's abstract 2, the type, which is for proposals that are talking about broader issues. So I want to talk about cis and transgender women and gender diverse folks not feeling like their voice is heard in advocacy circles, right? That's a broader sort of issue that we want to talk about. And we want to go ahead and talk about problems or community needs. So that's the work abstract 2 type. You can only submit your abstract in one of 2 ways. Can't be like, ooh, I kind of can do it both ways. Nope, you got to pick. So when we're talking about the abstracts, here are the questions. So for abstract 1, remember this is about a specific program, project, or study. You need to, all of these are word limited. So for abstracts, literally you have to talk about what you want to do in 600 words or less. Literally, I spend 600 words like saying hello to someone. So good to have it in a Google document. Mary's smiling at me because she knows it. Mary Jane is just straight up laughing because y'all know that indeed I can be a little verbose. So write it all out, just write it all out, and then have somebody help you edit or edit it down, because your title can be 20 words, your workshop description, 100 words. So you want to describe the purpose of the program, project, or study. Methods. What did you do? What were the methods and strategies that you used in the program? 200 words. What were the results? What happened? By doing this, we saw this happen. We thought it was going to be this, but instead it was this. You need to do that in 200 words. So that is the outcomes of it. And if you have quantifiable data, which are numbers, then you go ahead and include that. Conclusions, what did you learn? What would you do differently? What are you going to do next time? 100 words or less. So, you can see, they are really wanting us to just get like laser focused on what we're sharing and learning. Sometimes a word limit makes it easier. Sometimes it makes it a little harder.
Yeah.
All right. Abstract 2. Now, this is the one where you're talking about identifying an issue or a problem or a community need. This is broader. So this is the one where our example was, we want to make sure that cis and transgender women, gender diverse and transgender people living with HIV feel empowered to speak up at planning councils or in advocacy groups. This also has a word limit. And again, it is 600 words or less. So title, you can have your title be 20 words. Then you get to your workshop description where you identify the topic of the presentation, 100-word limit. Now, I talked about the project that I was going to introduce. I did that in about 20, 25 words. However, I want to say a little bit more about it because if they give you a word limit, you want to come pretty close to using all of the words. You don't get bonus points for being like, I submitted an abstract in 100 words. You could do it, but there would be parts of what you wanted to share that you didn't include. And so that's why you want to use all of the words that they give you. So the issues that you're identifying, so you want to talk about the specific issue. I've been on a planning council for 10 years now. I am often the only female identified or gender diverse person on these planning councils. I'm tired of it because I want to retire and I want to make sure that people are prepared to step in. That would be the issue that we could identify. We would talk a little bit more about it because we got 200 words. So again, it's this sort of teach or discuss. I mean, you could even open it up to the group and be like, we want to leave here with best practices for when that group of people show up on planning councils so that they feel meaningfully and intentionally engaged, not just sort of a token, check the box that they're here. Then we have our learning objectives. This is a 100-word limit. So what will the audience learn from the presentation? By attending, you're going to learn this, 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 and this. We're going to develop this, and that is critical. Then the last part are where you're talking about strategies, methods, models, and examples. This is where you talk about sort of what you're going to learn. We're going to break into small groups. We're going to strategize best practices. Everyone who registers is going to have a 10-point evaluation for intentional and meaningful inclusion so that they can assess their planning council or things like that. Models and examples. There are lots of meaningful involvement evaluations and assessments. I might link one of those just because I want people to see that I'm aware of the work that's out there and intentionally have looked at that first as I'm developing my program. So those are the two types of abstracts. I'm going to stop there and see if anybody has any questions as we are talking about these.
Hey, Barb, I have one question for you, and
Come on.
you may be covering it, but is posters in this part, or are you covering poster presentations?
We're not going to cover posters. Posters are another way that you can go ahead and share your expertise and your knowledge. We tend not to sort of move people towards those because we want to be in workshops where we can really both, intentionally engage with the audience and share with perhaps a larger group. Posters are an option. Institutes are another option that you can apply for. Institutes are 3 hours. Most of the time, organizations do the institute. So like PWN last year had one, it was fantastic. And posters tend to be, certainly focused on an individual. And if anybody is interested in doing a poster, reach out. We absolutely can help you with that as well. So again, same submission tips. These are similar to the ones that we talked about with the participant support. Start early. It's best to actually just like jot something down and come back to it a few days later and be like, oh man, I dreamed about this and now I want to include this angle, or I need to make sure I talk about this particular part. Choose a topic you know well. This is not the time for you to decide that all of a sudden I want to learn about any particular area in HIV that maybe I don't have experience with. This is the chance to say, what have I done in the last year or so that's really exciting? What do I want to show people? What do people need? More importantly, what do people need to hear? That's often how I'll come up with my abstracts is what do people need to hear? They need to hear from people living with HIV, blah, 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 blah. Absolutely. You can only submit your work when it's completed. You can only submit once. So don't think that you can go back and submit things through the application process or update it. You get one chance. Again, this is why we recommend writing it out ahead of time. Be clear, don't use abbreviations or jargon. Ask for feedback. That is the hardest part of submitting an abstract, is asking somebody to look at your work, because we get a little shy or imposter syndrome. And we think like, oh, this isn't very good. Be brave, reach out, ask somebody to read it, because their input will be invaluable. All right. So that is all of the information. We try not usually to do the scholarship/participant support and the abstracts at the same time, because it is a lot. You'll get the recording, you'll get the slides, so that you can go ahead and listen to it again. But does anyone have a abstract or an idea that they want to share? Yeah, Edgar, welcome.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
When when people do a presentation afterwards, people do like a survey. Does the presenter have access to that survey that that the that USCH that NMAC um I guess conducts?
Mhm. Yeah, so they always say that they share that with the presenters. Um, to be honest, I have never seen my surveys. So maybe people just don't do them. I mean, people are kind of over surveys, right? And evaluations. Um, but I think that if there is a point or two, especially if you're kind of trying to learn something and launch a phase two or something else, then it is good to have like a Mentimeter or some sort of evaluation throughout your workshop, and ask people questions as they're going along. If you have Mentimeter, then people scan a QR code and they can see their survey results pop up, and people love that because it's kind of a little bit like a game. It's interactive. It gives people a bit of a break from hearing you presenting all the time as well. So I always think that that is just a great way to get some feedback. And then I know that the and Mac folks do intend to share it. I just am not sure how many people actually fill it out, or how that happens. Um,
Yeah, I've heard that that everybody's expected to kind of give feedback on the presentations, but that uh, presenters themselves always struggle to get that feedback themselves. Um, and so um, I, I question how we can, integrate that moving forward, because that would be very helpful for presenters
mhm. Yeah,
without
agreed.
having
It could.
to do two surveys, really.
Yeah, yeah. I would not do a second survey. I would say, Mary said that yeah, Alicia has heard back from one 2 years ago, but not recently, and Mary did not hear back either. So I think that that is something that, as we have abstracts that are accepted, that can be something that we as presenters really tell the NMAC folks that that's important to us. That we want to be able to see those and kind of start preparing them for, like, hey, we're going to ask for them. Um, that would be my suggestion. But if there's one or two questions that you want to ask, I would put them into your workshop and ask people. So, like, Mary Jane and I just did a presentation at NALA, which is the Latino HIV conference, and we had 5 questions in our workshop, and it gave people a chance to really provide input in ways that were very interesting. And we were able to measure the change from when they came into the room to when they left the session. Do you believe that people living with HIV must disclose their status all of the time? So we did that at the beginning and showed it to people, and there was probably 35-40% of people who felt that folks should disclose their status all the time. And then after we gave our presentation where we were talking about disclosure and violence in particular against people living with HIV, and we had a disclosure guidance that we shared with them and talked about, we actually shifted that and were able to show that by the time we were done, only 5% still believed that. And so there's ways to structure it. And if you want to talk more about it, I'd love to think it through with you. You know, I'm always in the how do we work our way around stuff. But I do think that perhaps, you know, talking to the NMAC folks as well, saying we need the results is a good place to go. Thank you. Stacy.
Hi, I have so many ideas in my mind, but focusing more on the therapeutic side of storytelling, and how to tell your story to get a seat at the table. Because so oftentimes we don't know how to tell our stories, or we're afraid to tell our stories because of some unknown fear. Well, I tell my story strategically because I know that my story will get me a seat at the table. So I want
Yeah,
to speak about
that's going to be a
put an
great one. And
abstract
you
together.
saw that there's, oh, I'm sorry. What's that, Stace?
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. I wanted to make sure I hadn't talked over you. Yeah, I was very excited when I saw that entire storytelling track, because that is not often there, and that is very, very powerful. And so when we think about our stories and telling our stories therapeutically, absolutely, intergenerationally, interracially, I mean, like all of it is so powerful that we're talking about for sure.
Yes.
Is there anyone else who's got an idea that's just sort of mulling over their mind? Yeah, Vaughn. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, something that's been mulling over in my mind that I'm waiting to present. But I do a lot of work in like the college universities, right, where I'm doing education on HIV and STIs. So the abstract I'm proposing actually titled "Students Still Think You Can Get HIV from a Toilet Seat: What Campus Conversations Reveal About HIV and STI Education." So for me, it's about those conversations I'm having in the classrooms. And I've been doing this now for 3 years. So I have 3 years worth of questions that have been asked by these college students that still to this day, when I walk in, kind of blow me away that they ask these questions, because in Florida, we're not allowed to talk about sex ed in high school.
Mhm.
So when in college, they're more worried about getting herpes on the lip than they are anything else in those classrooms. So that's kind of the premise of what I'm working for to present for USCHA.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. And you can actually go back. Have you the Kaiser Family Foundation did stigma surveys,
Yep.
and yeah, and those
Yep.
are powerful.
Oh yeah.
Powerful ways of measuring, you know, like, would you eat, the part that always got me was that a third of the people, the last time they did the survey, a third of the people they asked would not eat food that was cooked by somebody who was living with HIV,
Right.
which, as a past chef, I mean, I was a chef in my former life. I find that really heartbreaking because I'm a damn good cook. And
Right.
you know, and I try and joke and say, like, you're missing out on some amazing food, but at the same time, it's like that is so stigmatizing and so painful,
Yep.
so painful to hear. And
I remember as a kid, I grew up with Ryan White. I mean, I was in
yeah,
the same town with him, and him and Jeannie would come into the diner, and people literally would just get up and walk out
yeah,
because they thought, oh, if he's eating in here, I don't want to get what he has. And
yeah,
you know, it's that same premise, right? That stigma. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing, Vaughn. And I am glad that you are there talking to students, that they can ask you those questions. Because, you know, while we roll our eyes at them and we're like, oh, those are really dumb questions, can you imagine if they didn't have you to ask?
Right. So the question I have for you that you might be able to help me with is, within the 600 words that we have to write, right? There's so much to this to talk about. And also, it does ask you to submit a CV,
Mhm.
a resume with this as well when you're submitting your abstract this year.
Yeah.
So
We have had advocates who didn't have CVs who
yeah,
have submitted a list of work.
yeah.
And so there are ways around that, but yeah.
And then, but I also did more of a narrative to do as an attachment because you can attach multiple documents when you go to attach. So I kind of did like an outline of the abstract that gave a little bit more information versus the 600 words.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good too. Jen, yeah.
Um, Good evening, everyone. I just have a question. I might have missed it, but what are CVs?
CVs are curricula vitae or resumes. So
Okay,
they're
thank you.
called, yeah, they're often called CVs in sort of the more researcher professional field. But it would be what we call a resume. And for
Hmm.
people living with HIV, it can be
Hmm.
really difficult to pull one together because we have very non-traditional work. And so I can give a whole other workshop about writing a CV that reflects who you are and what you've worked on, and really fighting the imposter syndrome, because again, the work that we do is incredible. It's
Right,
non-traditional, and we need to
right.
own that HIV has disrupted many of our lives in many, many ways. And that happens. And
Hmm.
within that, we have done remarkable, remarkable things.
I'd
So
love to be
yeah.
in that training.
Okay. Yep. I'll add it to my list, because yeah, indeed, fighting stigma, especially the internalized one resume at a time. Uh, again, it goes back to the bragging on yourself. And I encourage everyone to be as kind and as bragging on yourself as possible, because the world is a hard place sometimes. All right. Anyone else have any really exciting ideas or things that they just want to throw out in the universe that just popped into their head that they want to talk about for the first time? Right. Then we are at the end, and we'll go ahead and we'll hang out so that if people want to ask questions afterwards. Yeah, Mary, go ahead.
I just want to say real quick too, um, it can be a daunting task to do abstract. Um, and you may get that imposter syndrome, you may get the self-doubts. Give yourself a little grace along the way as well. If you don't get it in for this year, work on it throughout the year and submit it for next year. Because yeah, we do have a tight um time frame right now. But if you think you have something that is really would be really good, take your time, put the time into it, get a lot of different perspectives from people over the next year. And by the time submissions come again next year, submit it. You'll already be solid. You'll probably even have your PowerPoint already ready. Just things like that. Don't rush this process, because if you rush it, you're going to make some mistakes. And that you don't want that to, even if your abstract is approved, you don't want that, because then you're going to end up pressuring yourself to be within those parameters. So give yourself some grace. Take your time with it. If you don't have it developed now, that's okay. It just means it's not meant to be right now, and your time will come.
Yeah. Mary, that is such great advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know that this is something that you have learned personally, and so thank you for sharing that really, really personal experience, because is helpful to all of us. So in the last few minutes, I went ahead and I put the links in the chat, and I'm just going to go ahead and show you the abstract form and the participant support form that we have, that you can go ahead and maybe, if the world is going to, yeah, there we go. And so this is what you all have access to. And so you can go ahead and you can see that this is just a draft. And so you want to go ahead and make a copy of it. You're not able to actually go in and make any changes, but it has all of the information. It has our time and our due date. And then when I was saying that I've gone ahead and underlined some of the words that I think that are key when you are writing your application, this is what we're talking about. So in number one, you want to talk about your advocacy and your awareness. Number two, you want to apply the knowledge. Three, challenges, efforts, lessons, right? Because this is what I always do for myself when I'm submitting an application. And so I kind of gave you all a little bit of a cheat sheet for it. And so you can go ahead, and for those of you who maybe haven't done it before, is you just come over here under File, make a copy, and then you'll be able to edit it yourself, and you can just type in all of your answers here. At the top, we always have the list your advocacy accomplishments. Before you get into trying to figure out what you've done and how does it match with this, that, or the other thing, just give yourself a quick list, because then you'll have that to start working. Yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll send out the links and the recording and the slides. You'll get it all. And if we have answers from the NMAC folks about our questions that we have been piling up, I will include those also. So that is the participant support draft document. And then if we come back, I'm going to just show you this quickly. And if people need to leave, that is okay. What we have here is that this is the abstract draft. We did this a little bit differently because we have abstract type 2, which is what most of us are going to apply for. And then we have abstract 1, and those are on separate pages. And so you just come over here in the tabs and you have the abstract type 2 with those particular questions. And it reminds you that these are for addressing a broader issue area, problem, or community need. And then you come down here and it's got your questions and your word limits, because again, 600 words. I keep saying that, but that's what we got. And then again, we've got abstract type 1, which is the one that is about a specific program, research project, and those are there. So hopefully that is helpful to everyone. We're going to go ahead and we are going to just come back and see all the beautiful people here. And with that, we are done with our USCHA abstract and participant support preparation sessions. So we'll hang out. If you have any questions, feel free to stay on and ask or just say hi. But otherwise, I put my email in the chat. Reach out if there's anything I can do to help. And thank you again. I'm glad this was really, no, I'm glad it was really helpful for everyone. And like I said, there was a bunch going on today.
Thanks, Barb.
You're
thanks,
so
Barb.
welcome.
Yeah, have a good evening.
Good evening.
Everybody have a good evening.
Good night. Good night. It is good to see
Good
you all.
night.
Yeah.
Good to see you too, Bob.
Good to be seen. For sure. For sure. For sure. Oh.
Appreciate you to the moon and back.
Thanks, Wanda. Thanks.
See you at the next whatever we're having.
Yeah, I'll see you on the next whatever the next Zoomer is, right?
That's right.
All
Good night,
righty.
everyone.
Thanks. Anyone got any questions, or are we just all hanging out because we appreciate being in this space?
I did. Can you hear me?
I can. Hi, Jamaica. How are you?
Sorry I'm late. I'm got a phone and I'm trying to learn how to work it. I'm having some issues getting all my stuff back transferred.
Mhm.
So I'm a little stressed.
Not to worry. We're glad you're here. And since you registered, we'll go ahead and we'll send the recording and the slides to you, as well as all of the links.
I would appreciate that so much.
You betcha. You betcha.
How you
Yeah.
doing?
New phones are stressful, that's for sure.
Man,
That
I'm trying to
is,
transfer my stuff and it's nothing. But anywho, how you been doing?
I am okay. Hang on, let me turn off this recording here.